Good afternoon. Could I kindly request everyone to please settle down? On behalf of our chairperson, Ms. Ritu Shah, I, Prachi Trivedi Shah, Honorary Secretary, Flow Hyderabad Chapter, would like to welcome you all to a much-needed session, the 40-plus mantra on health, beauty, and hormones, with nutritionist, author, and public health advocate, Ms. RUJUTA DIWAKER. Could I kindly request everyone to please put your phones on silent and rise for the national anthem.
Janagana mana adhinayaka jaya he Bharat bhagya vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Uchchala Jaladhi Taranga तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
For a ceremonial lighting of the lamp, it is an honor to request Flow Chairperson Ms. Ritu Shah, our guest today Ms. RUJUTA DIWAKER, along with our past National President Ms. Pinky Reddy, Flow and Y-Flow Chairpersons Ms. Ajita Reddy, Ms. Rekha Reddy, Ms. Rekha Lahoti, Ms. Padma Rajgopal, Ms. Priyanka Ganeriwal, Ms. Usha Rani Manne, Ms. Uma Chikrupati, and Ms. Shubhra Maheshwari. Flow past chairpersons to join our chairperson Ms. Ritu Shah and our guest Ms. RUJUTA DIWAKER along with our Y-Flow chairperson Ms. Aarti Shah for photographs. It is a pleasure to invite today's Business League team to join our chairperson and our guest for photographs. Could I kindly request the core committee followed by the ECs to join in for photographs. Today, we gather to delve into the crucial topic that affects each and every one of us, health, beauty, and hormones, particularly for individuals over the age of 40. As we age, our bodies undergo numerous changes, both internally and externally, and it becomes imperative to understand how to navigate these changes effectively to maintain our health and vitality. Thankfully, we have with us today a distinguished expert in the field and a nutritionist, author, and public health advocate, Ms. RUJUTA DIWAKER, who will guide us through the intricacies of this journey by providing invaluable insights to empower us in making informed decisions about our well-being. I now call upon Ms. Meenakshi Nahata, EC Head of the events team, to kindly introduce our guest.
Good afternoon, ladies. RUJUTA DIWAKER is India's leading public health advocate and amongst the most followed nutritionists globally. Her books have sold more than 1.5 million copies and have been translated in 7 languages. Her clear and simple message to eat local, seasonal, and traditional has redefined the discourse on health and wellness, nudging it away from diet trends and towards sustainable well-being of the people and the planet. We welcome you, RUJUTA.
Thank you, Meenakshi. It is with immense pleasure that I now invite our chairperson, Ms. Ritusha, and our guest, Ms. RUJUTA DIWAKER, on the dais for felicitation. I now invite our chairperson, Ms. Ritusha, to address the gathering and take the session forward.
A very good afternoon to one and all. Investing in your health does not just bring a longer life, it brings a richer one. RUJUTA, the beacon of nutrition and wellness, whose voice cuts through the noise of fleeting diet trends, reminds us of the power of simplicity in nourishing our bodies and minds. Her mantra, "Eat local, think global," is not just a slogan, but a lifeline to reconnect with our roots while embracing the best the world has to offer. Today, let's embark on a journey together towards understanding the 40+ mantra, navigating health, beauty, and the intricate dance of hormones with grace and wisdom. It's an invitation to embrace the years ahead with vitality and joy, knowing well that age is but just a number when your spirit is nourished and vibrant. Before we commence today's session, it's an honor to share an overview of our recent landmark moments. We congratulate Tarang Indriyan Vaish for securing the first position in the startup pitch competition during the She Rise Conclave 23-24. I am thrilled to share that Flow Hyderabad chapter has been recognized at the Startup Conclave for achieving the highest number of collaborations and empowering our members throughout the year. Furthermore, our health committee's recent initiative to distribute 7,000 sanitary pads to the Bharosa team underscores Flow's commitment to women's empowerment by addressing critical issues such as menstrual health and hygiene. It is with pride that we highlight the success of our education initiative, which provided free certified Tally Pro courses to 150 girls at Begumpet Government College. This transformative program would not have been possible without the generous sponsorship of Prachi Trivedi Shah of Swastik Spices. Today, we congratulate the accomplished girls who have completed their exams and invite our speaker, RUJUTA, to present the 150 certificates to Ms. Bhargavi from Begumpet Women's College. Do we have Bhargavi here? Please. I'm delighted to announce the successful conclusion of our skilling initiative, Telia Rumal, which has empowered the weavers of Puttapaka village through various skill building and educational workshops. From securing a 30 lakh government grant to generating concrete revenue within the community, this initiative exemplifies the power of collaboration and collective action in driving meaningful change. We Connect International and US Consulate organized the Empowering Inclusion, Advancing Sustainable Value Chain Summit in Hyderabad. From Flow Hyderabad chapter, our past chairperson, Uma Chigrupati, spoke on the topic, Solutions for Sustainability and Inclusion in IT and Pharmaceuticals, and Kirti Chintalapuri moderated the session on the topic, Strategies to Achieve Women's Economic Security. Embracing technology is not just a choice, it's the way forward for progress and innovation in modern era. The adoption of the app is pivotal for future engagements. We urge all Flow members to promptly download the application as it will serve as the primary platform for event bookings and assessing pertinent information going forward. Your prompt attention to this matter is really valued, members. I would now like to congratulate Flow member Radhika Agarwal. She was honored with the prestigious title of Most Enterprising Women Entrepreneur at the 9th Annual Shakti International Women Entrepreneurs Summit 2024 in New Delhi by Shri Narayan Rane, Union Minister of MSME. Radhika Agarwal is also serving as the EC head for the Flow Marketplace vertical and has demonstrated exceptional leadership alongside her team members Shruti Garg and Khushbu Baid. These remarkable efforts in successfully closing 190 WhatsApp broadcast ads for the year 2023 is highly appreciated. Last but not the least, I would like to express my immense gratitude and a big thank you to all the Flow members without whom nothing is possible. Thank you so much, members. Flow Hyderabad's chapter's flag has been consistently flying higher and higher through the year. A big round of applause for all the achievers and all the women empowerment happening around us. Now let's dive into the heart of the matter, and may our conversation today ignite a spark within each of us to pursue a life of health, beauty, and harmony. Welcome everyone to an evening of transformation. Thank you so much. Hi RUJUTA, how do you feel coming back to Hyderabad?
It always feels great to be back in Hyderabad, and it was especially nice to meet Pinky Reddy, because I was just telling her I can't come to Hyderabad not meet Pinky Reddy. So it's nice that I met her and that she's here at the event. So it's always great to come back to Hyderabad. I think it's a fun, cool, chilled out place, you know, a place which gets a lot of work done so efficiently that they actually have fun doing it, you know. None of you looks exhausted or tired. I think that's the best thing.
So when we asked RUJUTA, what will you have to eat? And she said, ki homemade thepla bheja do. So I think so that is what you're also known for, you know, eat local and eat homemade, eat fresh, you know, take up on that afternoon nap. And you know, a typical Gujarati trait that is. So welcome RUJUTA. So to start with, today's topic is 40 plus mantra, health, beauty and hormones. So let's delve on health, beauty and hormones. 40 plus probably, 40 plus is also a late time when we start concentrating on us. We have to start early. Okay, so what are, RUJUTA, what are the key nutritional considerations for individuals who are entering their 40s, and what are the health misconceptions about aging?
Okay, I think first of all, as Indian women, if we are 40 and above, then we must really celebrate the fact that we are still alive and still in a good enough place to be, yeah, you can really clap, you know, because, no, please clap. See, we were colonized for over 200 years. Until 1947, the average age expectancy of Indian women was 40 or 42 years, which means that we would be born, we would be married off, we would produce one child after another, and then we would expire. Now, we can actually think of even planning for a child at 40. That's the kind of progress that India has made, and a lot of times we don't really celebrate that progress on a day-to-day basis, you know. So I really think that in a way, when one talks of Amrit Kal, one talks about you know, being an independent country for 75 years, I think one of our biggest achievements has been that a lot of us are today 40 plus. We are hale and hearty enough, and also you know, secure enough to fuss about the way we are looking and just be like our 16 or 25-year-old selves where we never liked the way we were looking any which ways, you know. So I really think that a lot of times we make a big deal about turning 40. It's not that we stop liking the way we are looking after we've turned 40. We don't like the way we are looking at 14 or 24 or 34. And a lot of women who have lived before us challenged the norms of their era so that we can all have afternoons to ourselves. We can all pursue whatever's in our heart and goal. You know, I'm reading sustain her health, culture, goal, education. All of this has become possible because of the women before us. And I think what we need to do for the women who will come after us is make it possible for them to like the way they're looking as a 14-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 60-year-old, 80-year-old. Because really, I mean, if we all started looking thin, fair, tall, and you know, and therefore beautiful, then we would just be AI versions, you know, something which is coming out of like a, out of a machine, out of a production line, versus really women who have fought challenges, cared for their families, completed their education, pursued their goals. Because I really think that as women, we are extremely ambitious. Not just do we want good stuff for ourselves, we also want good stuff for our families, we also want good stuff for our drivers. We are also thinking about मेरे driver के बेटे का education या बेटी के education के लिए क्या होना चाहिए and stuff like that. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And therefore, we must celebrate the journey, and we must know that we can't look at 40 like the way we looked at 20, because the only people who look sada ke liye jawan are chudels and real women age, you know. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Such a natural laughter, I think so, all of them had.
No, thank you. Because I really see aging is a beautiful thing, you know.
RUJUTA, with 40, you know, comes the, you know, dreading thing of menopause. So now, you know, menopause is a big issue, pre-menopause, post-menopause. Menopause is, I think so, going on for years and years. And, you know, 35, you have an issue, you go to a gynec and they say, ki, you know, you already entered menopause. So how do hormonal changes after 40 affect nutrition and wellness, and how can one mitigate these effects through diet, like menopause being primarily the cause of concern for the health?
So first of all, I think it's a wonderful thing that there is menopause, and everything that we feel around menopause should actually allow us to feel what men feel for their entire lives. You know, I mean, if you don't have a female hormone, you're constantly irritable, angry, you know, dull, bloated, sleepless, losing hair, all of those things. But of course, it need not be like that at all. But like the way Ritu, you rightly pointed out, that we should not be taking care of our health after we reach 40. It is something that we need to be doing right from the beginning. Because when we allow period pain to go unaddressed, when we allow monthly troubles to go unaddressed, we almost have a culture where हम लोग हमारे सहनशीलता को, मतलब our ability to be indifferent towards ourselves को reward करते हैं. You know, as women, we almost feel like, because that's the attitude that more or less that we are raised in, that we should kind of quietly just live our life and look beautiful when we ought to, and disappear, you know. But every time that we have period trouble, we ought to address it. And one of the things that we do with young women, in fact, we ran one study called as the EASE PMS study, and just 10 days before periods, because the periods can give you PMS and pain, breast swelling or tenderness, aches and pains, nausea, emotional trouble, you know, mood swings and stuff. To wake up in the morning and have a few soaked black raisins and 1 or 2 strands of kesar just 10 days before the periods. And we noticed that 85% of the women who were a part of this study reported much lesser period pain, much lesser breast tenderness, much lesser mood swings, much lesser bloating, constipation, acidity, just with something as simple as raisins and kesar. And that is something that we can do throughout our perimenopause and menopause, because sometimes perimenopause feels like a 2-year-long PMS, you know, or a 5-year-long PMS. So that is something that we all ought to do. And the drop in the bleeding, because a lot of times I find women saying to me that, you know, after I have turned 35, I'm only bleeding for 4 days instead of like 6 days, or, you know, in my 40s, I'm only bleeding for 3 days instead of whatever. I'm only bleeding 2 days. Now that is how naturally your period would go, because your ovaries are going to shrink. But if you are one of those women where you are not getting periods for a very long time, for a few months together you're not getting any bleeding, and then once it starts it's not stopping, then you need to include things like tubers in your diet. You know, tubers is something that we've kind of miss out on, because pehle hum log jab upvas karte the, then women would eat like suran, arbi, sweet potato. So we must include one of the tubers at least twice a week. We must include lentils, lobia, chana, rajma, moong, arhar, whatever is your regular thing, at least 3 to 5 times. And we must also include a fresh fruit, especially fruits like banana, you know, which have high amounts of potassium, so that we don't really lose out on all our energy just because we are having like this weird period cycle. And if you are having hard time, it's important that you kind of take it slow and not push your way through it, because then you may just land in much bigger trouble than one bad day that you're going to have, you know. So take it slow, take it easy, and throughout the month look after yourself. Don't wait to do something SOS. Start looking after yourself throughout the month. I think that is important.
So Rujuta, what are your views on supplements and vitamins for individuals? Like, you know, do you consider them to be essential, or anything that you suggest should be taken for women, you know?
Well, I think that when it comes to vitamins, it's like this, that if you are not eating correctly, if you are not eating wholesome food, if you are the type who has decided abhi aaj se main rice khana chhod dungi, aaj se main breakfast khana chhod dungi, aam ke season mein main mango nahi khaungi, main khali blueberries khaungi, because somehow, you know, we all begin to feel that if I'm eating yucky food that I don't know how to pronounce, and if it's expensive, then it's going to make me thin, you know. But it doesn't work like that. What works is food which has a name in your local language, food which appeals to your taste buds, and foods which is not making you slim on your pocket but on your waist. देखो, food के साथ compromise नहीं करना चाहिए. शादी नहीं है, मेरे हिसाब से शादी में भी नहीं करना चाहिए, but food में तो 100% नहीं करना चाहिए. So don't compromise on good nutritious food. If it is food which has a name in your language, if it is a food that your grandmother recognizes, if it is food that gets made in multiple ways in your kitchen, you know, so if you take rice, for example, you can make it into khichdi, you can make it into steam rice, you can make it into biryani, you can make it into kheer, you can make it into like 100 things. So if you can make it into multiple ways in your kitchen, and if it's not expensive, then it is food which is good for you, which is going to keep your beauty, hormones and health intact. Doesn't matter what the press is saying about it or what social media influencers are saying about it. So that's the thing about food. When it comes to exercise, it must be exercise jahan aap कुत्ते के तरह नहीं, लेकिन human being के तरह exercise करो, because a lot of people feel that till they are not exercising कुत्ते की तरह, they are not going to be you know, turning thin. By the way, one of my clients who's menopausing, her daughter told her, mom अभी बेचारी नहीं bitch बनो, you know. So I really think that people who are like डूइंग कुत्ते की तरह एक्सरसाइज करके हम लोग बिच नहीं, हम लोग और बेचारी बन जाएंगे. सो एक्सरसाइज लाइक अ ह्यूमन बीइंग. एक्सरसाइज लाइक अ ह्यूमन बीइंग मीन्स दैट इफ you've exercised today, then the next day you must feel like exercising. You must recover that much that you should feel like exercising. If you over-exhausted yourself with exercise today, you don't feel like exercising tomorrow. And you could have signed up with a trainer, you could have gotten yourself Lululemon tracks and Puma shoes, I don't know what all. But if you still don't feel like exercising, it's not because it's your fault, it is the fault of the training intensity. So reduce that so that you're exercising tomorrow too. And the third thing is that you must sleep on time. If you're not going to be sleeping on time, you know, agar raate jawan karoge to jawani so jayegi. It's as simple as that. So yeah. So sleep on time, because all of our hormones get not just regulated but even produced in the night. In fact, there is now data to show that women produce almost all of their hormones in the night, but men also produce their hormones in the day. So this whole thing of, you know, you need at least 7 to 8 hours sleep is largely coming out of studies which has been done on men and not so much on women, and that women may need about 9 hours of sleep, you know. So especially around menopause and stuff, make sure that your sleep hygiene is good. Don't say that it's my 40th, मैं bar table के ऊपर चढ़ के dance करूँगी, अबे हो गया, you know, किसी और के 40th पे करना as a 20-year-old, you know, अपने 40th पे time पे सो जाना. I think that will be the most revolutionary party that you can ever have, you know, that you actually went to bed on time. So focus on sleep. Now if you're going to be eating properly, exercising and sleeping on time, then if you take a supplement, it will work. Okay. But if you also don't take a supplement, it is still going to work. Yeah. You know, so it's all going to depend on, you know, whether you really need that supplement. So then have someone assess and check, do you need a supplement? Do you need a calcium? Do you need a vitamin E? Do you need a vitamin D? So I'll just briefly tell you what are the signs of deficiencies that you can look for. This is typically the stuff that we do with my clients, you know, women that I have watched closely, and I know that with a proper diet, exercise and bedtime routine, these are some of the things which can work. So if you notice that you have been waking up very frequently in the night to use the loo, but you never used to do that earlier, so then you should, you know, taking a vitamin D in the night, a very, very small dose, or a multivitamin in the night will help you. If you notice that just before your periods, you begin to get a little bit of spotting or a black discharge, but the period is not starting, then a vitamin E a week before the period will help you. If you're generally feeling a sense of lethargy, you know, especially in the afternoons, के lunch खाया और अभी ऐसा लगता है कि चाय या कॉफ़ी मारो या सो जाओ, मतलब like crazy, like poor sleep in the night but good sleep in the afternoon. If you're getting those kind of symptoms, then a vitamin B12 will help you. And if you're getting things like breast tenderness just before your periods, then a vitamin B6 will help you. But you must remember that vitamins are like, you know, it's like a earring or a clip. पहना है नहीं पहना है doesn't matter. But कपड़ा पहना है कि नहीं matters, you know. So the whole कपड़ा is your diet and your exercise and your sleep, and really the ability to not do too much, to not do any kind of an extreme, but to do something that you can do for the rest of your life. In 1947, if the average age expectancy was 40, then today the average age expectancy is 75. With education, affluence and access to healthcare, we are going to live much, much longer than 75. And what we must realize by the time we come to 40 is that when we are 14 or even 20, we think, forget 40 तो मतलब हम लोग को जुरासिक पार्क के डायनासोर्स लगते हैं. But even 30 feels too old when you're 15 or 20, even 30 feels too old. By the time you come to 30, you realize that you don't feel old at all. You want to look good, you want to pursue everything, you're still interested in yourself, you still like flirting, all of those things. But yeah, and then you realize that though you thought that 40 was too old, even at 40 you want the exact same things. So you can take my word for it that at 70 and 80 also we will want the exact same things, you know. No, of course. So we can't write ourselves off by saying kuch bhi karke in the next 1-2 months या 1-2 years मेरे को पतला होना है, and अच्छा दिखना है. We have to think like the way you've written here, sustain her ability to be a sexual being, sustain her ability to nurture herself through good food, sustain her ability to continue to learn and be open and to contribute to the world, and sustain her ability to live a damn good life till the last moment of her life. So what you adopt today, thank you. Thanks. What you adopt today, you should be able to live with it at least for the next 40 years. Only then what you're doing is useful. हम लोग age से इसी वजह से डरते हैं क्योंकि we feel that if we age, we will lose our power. But it doesn't have to be like that. You know, if we come from homes with good kitchens, you know, then we can sustain our power till the last day of our life.
Very true, Rujuta. Rujuta, we would like to hear. Rujuta, we would like you to share, you know, your top tips for maintaining the energy levels, you know, irrespective of being 30, 35, 40, 50, we have 60 years old also. So what are the top tips of maintaining the energy levels, and, you know, how do we manage the stress of aging?
How do we manage the stress by aging? I think is by knowing that aging is a blessing. We belong to a country, unfortunately, even today, our malnourishment rates are so high that a lot of us die before we reach the age of 5, okay? And I'm sure, you know, one of the projects that you do, because I know that you work in malnourishment areas also, and even the Indian government works by, you know, through the work of Anganwadi, through the way of getting mid-meals to children, through the way of getting meals to pregnant women, is to ensure that we no longer lose human potential before the age of 5 just because they were not eating properly. So if we belong to families where there has been enough to eat and that we can actually age, I think it's something that we should celebrate. It means that not just our mothers and our fathers, but their mothers and fathers had enough to eat. And, you know, which is why we have the blessing of aging. I think with aging, one of the things that happens is that we begin to become women who are less motivated by information and more in tune with insight. And I think that is really our superpower, you know. When you are younger, you see something and you believe what you see. When you're 40 or 40 plus, you are able to tell the difference between what you've been shown and what it really is. And I think that's a wonderful ability to have, you know, the insight that we get. If you look at, because yoga is something that has been a part of our culture, according to yoga, our body has 6 different stages, you know, stages of being born, stages of growth, stages of maturity, stages of change. Menopause is that stage of change. And then eventually stages of deterioration and stages of even death. I think if we don't see aging as a blessing, then we will forever be scared of death, which is something which is 100% eventuality in all our lives. A lot of times I feel कि when people say, you know, कि मैं 40 की हूँ, अभी मेरा कुछ हो सकता है क्या, मैं like अबे ज़िंदगी बहुत लंबी है, 100% होगा. And the fact is that we are all even going to die one day, you know, so aging should be the least of our problems. What is it that we are doing while we are still alive, while we still have good energy levels, while we still have able bodies and able brain and minds? That is the stuff that we should be thinking about. But to very quickly answer what is it that you can do to keep your energy levels high, I think the first thing that we should do to keep our energy levels high is eat good food and not fall for things like अभी मैंने कार्बोहाइड्रेट छोड़ दिया है, अभी मैंने ब्रेकफास्ट छोड़ दिया है, अभी मैं 16 घंटे तक नहीं खाती हूँ, या यू नो, खाना मत छोड़ो, क्योंकि जब हम लोग मरेंगे ना, तभी अगर किसी ने अपना बॉडी 2 दिन तक भी रख दिया तो भी अपने को खाने का ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगा, क्रेविंग भी नहीं आएगा. बट वाइल वी आर अलाइव वी विल नीड फूड. सो अ फ्यू क्विक थिंग्स टू नो इज दैट don't rate food based on carbohydrate, protein and fat, because then you're constantly changing what is good for you to eat. You know, I started working in 1998. When I started working at that time, rich people used to not put ghee on their roti. वो लोग सिर्फ सूखा रोटी खाते थे. वो लोग बताते भी थे सबको, हम लोग सूखा रोटी खाते हैं. मतलब लुई विटॉन का बैग कैरी कर रहे हो, मर्सिडीज पार्क है, लेकिन सूखा रोटी खाओगे. Now the same people are like, हम लोग घी का शॉट लेंगे लेकिन रोटी नहीं खाएंगे. Like amazing, you know, because diet trends constantly change and they constantly make us feel कि जब तक खाने में से स्वाद नहीं आ रहा है तब तक आप पतले रहने वाले हो. But the fact is that you want to shed a few kilos at 25, you give up on fat. At 35, you're much fatter than what you were at 25. Now you're giving up on carbs. At 45, you're much fatter than what you were at 35. Now you're giving up on eating windows. Eventually, what all will we give up on? You know, so we should give up on the desperate need to look thin. We should know that as women, if we don't claim our rightful place under the earth, हम लोग अगर दिखाई ही नहीं देंगे तो क्या फ़ायदा, but you know, to have a seat at the table, you know. So first thing is that हम दिखाई देने चाहिए, उसके बाद में हम सुनाई देंगे और उसके बाद में हम लोग जो बोल रहे हैं उसका बदलाव आएगा. Otherwise we just shrink our, you know, it becomes a lifetime of shrinking our abilities, it becomes a lifetime of shrinking our intelligence, a lifetime of shrinking our insight. And then instead of realizing that my main problem, the main reason why I don't feel as beautiful as I would like to be is because I have compromised on my insight and intelligence, ये अपने को चमकता ही नहीं है. And we shortchange ourselves by thinking and feeling that if I just lose 5 kilos, I will be happy. You know, I know what happens when people lose 5 kilos. They want to lose 2 kilos. Then after 2 kilos, they want to lose 500 grams at least, yaar. You know? अबे खुशी क्यों नहीं आ रही है? क्योंकि जो प्रॉब्लम है वो तो देखा ही नहीं. प्रॉब्लम इज दैट यू शॉर्ट चेंज्ड योर पोटेंशियल. And if it's going to be a long life, you can start at any age that you have this realization. So you don't have to go around shrinking your size all the time. So I think don't shrink your size because the food industry keeps playing you. और एक बार घी नहीं खिलाएगा, एक बार रोटी नहीं खिलाएगा, उसके बाद में अभी gluten intolerance, सबको gluten intolerance है. You know, dairy intolerance हर किसी को है. So gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance, people are getting tests done, allergy test, जहाँ पे they are allergic to things that they have never eaten. Have you noticed that? And they don't even intend to eat. But we are like, problem मेरे food में ही है. Problem is in complicating what is extremely simple. Love, food are extremely simple. जहाँ पर भी कॉम्प्रोमाइज़, जहाँ पर भी आप उसको इसको कॉम्प्लिकेट करते हो, आई थिंक यू goof up. So food just has to be food which is local, seasonal and traditional. Local language में नाम है खाओ, season में है खाओ, traditional proportions में बना हुआ है तो खाओ. Traditional proportion में बना है तो खाओ मतलब currently millets is the rage. Have you heard that? ओके तो जब रागी मुद्दे और पीनट चटनी खाएंगे तो हैदराबाद के पुअर लोग खाएंगे. हैदराबाद के रिच पीपल विल ईट finger millet flakes, finger millet pancakes, finger millet whatever else. But I think you're truly rich when you adopt things that are sustainable, you know, that are good for the people, that are good for the planet. आपको भी पतला रखेगा, पृथ्वी स्थल को भी अच्छा रखेगा, because all these children that we produce, they have to still inhabit the earth, you know. If we eat things which are, you know, which is just quinoa, kiwis, blueberries, yogurts which are probiotic, तो फिर घर का दही, छाछ, मुद्दे, चटनी, ये सब कुछ कौन खाएगा? हमको ही खाना पड़ेगा, you know. That's when we will leave behind a better earth for people. So eat like that, and then you will have energy for as a 20-year-old, as a 30-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old. And the other thing which is extremely important, I think, for women to learn is, and I heard this from a very, very successful woman entrepreneur, and she said that in her journey what she has realized is that when you are mentoring anyone or when you're making any kind of a relationship, you can quickly tell whether this person is going to pick up what you're saying or they are not going to pick up what you're saying. And only invest your time and energies in people who can pick up what you're saying. If you keep investing your time and energies in people who cannot pick up what you're saying, whether it is your husband, whether it is your children, whether it is your staff at home, then you're going to be wasting your time. You know, a lot of times I like to remind women that हम लोग वो गाना है ना, वो माधुरी दीक्षित का दीदी तेरा देवर देवाना, मैं बोली थी ला दे मुझे तू मिठाई, तू बाजार से लेके आया खटाई. Have you heard of that? Where, you know, she's riding so high on her hormones as a young girl that the boy brings khatai instead of mithai, but she's indulging him. Now at 40s, the same hormones is like making you irritated with that guy because you asked him to get mithai and all that he got you was khatai. But what you must know is कि माल तो सेम ही है ना, वो तो चेंज नहीं हुआ है. 20 से 40 तक वो तो एक चीज़ बोलो वो दूसरा ही कर रहा है. Our attitude has changed. So thank your hormones that it is letting you see what you are doing, you know, with your hormones instead of blaming your hormones. So I really think that figure out people who get what you're saying and invest more energies in them versus wasting and venting out with people who are any which ways built a little differently or oriented a little differently from you. And in terms of exercise, make it a priority. I think 20 minutes of exercise is something that every woman ought to do. You know, the bare minimum requirement of exercise is 150 minutes per week. That is about 3 hours per week. So make sure that you're doing 3 hours per week. Don't wait कि दिवाली के बाद में, cousin के शादी के बाद में और किसी के बाद में. And also know that the reason why exercise is not popular is because when you exercise, you don't see a dramatic drop on the scale, but you see a dramatic drop in the size. So exercise regularly, go to bed on time. I think that's the only thing that one can do for high energy levels.
Which is the latest superfood that you'll be promoting? And
you know, I think superfoods are exactly these foods, like the way I told you, जिसका नाम हो लोकल भाषा में, जो सीजन में हो, जो जो ट्रेडिशनल वे में बना हो. Traditional proportions is extremely important, you know. Otherwise, we are becoming a country where all of a sudden we are realizing कि इसमें ना बहुत कुछ है, जैसे कि रागी में बहुत कैल्शियम है, बाजरा में बहुत आयरन है, So then we kind of tend to overeat them. कि मतलब अभी ब्रेड भी हम लोग को रेगुलर ब्रेड नहीं, अभी हम लोग को ब्रेड भी मिलेट वाला चाहिए. And then we are like, you know, the food industry just keeps playing us because they are like, okay, normal bread 20 rupees, millet bread 200 rupees. And we are all like, हाँ पैसा खर्चा किया तो मतलब अच्छा ही होना चाहिए. But the fact is that you can just make rotis at home which are like the regular millet rotis, and they also have this thing that bajra in the winters, jawar in the summers, ragi throughout the year. And we have these combinations that if you've eaten the bajra, then you must end it with jaggery and ghee. If you've eaten anything with ragi, you must have something which is, you know, either ghee, ya makhan, ya peanut powder, til chutney. If you have eaten jawar, then again, you know, the combination of what you must eat it with. So I think we ought to keep up with all of these combinations. Otherwise we'll end up thinking कि मैं कभी भी कुछ healthy खाती हूँ ना तो मैं bloat हो जाती हूँ, because it's like we cut out on those combinations and we just eat food for, you know, overeat those products. I've seen same things happening even with simple dal and rice. People think dal में protein है, rice में carbohydrate है. So typically when we are eating dal rice, we always eat more of the rice, less of the dal. Like, you know, it's like the idli proportion. It's always more of the rice and less of the dal. And there is a proportion, it's not very less or whatever. Then we are like, no, now I want to make a protein rich idli. So now you're putting more dal and like less rice. फिर वो idli is not getting fluffy. Then if you do eat that idli, वो खाली paper पर protein rich है, वो reality में constipation और bloating और acidity ही लेके आती है. So I think that's the stuff that we need to remember, that eating correctly is extremely commonsensical. We cannot make it complicated because life is quite complicated as is. By the time we come to 40, one of our parents will be ill, one of our children will be in teenage and raging, and our husband will be going through midlife crisis. Now, already ये सब हो ही रहा है, you know, that he's buying himself a bike or some cycle or is thinking of a solo expedition. अभी तुमको life complicate खाने में क्यों करनी चाहिए? कुछ तो होना चाहिए which remains the same no matter what everything changes. And no matter how much everything changes, because if we don't use food as our Sahara, you know what we have to do? We have to go back to our toxic boyfriend who we dumped 20 years ago to rediscover the same old thing, that it was a reason why I was not with him. But you know, with dal chawal, with khichdi, with dahi rice, you can be with those things for the rest of your life. And you can invite more women to come and share that same thing with you and feel good that you're sharing and eating and having this joy together. So I think that's what we have to remember. We got to look at food as a form of nurture and security also, because we feel good, we look beautiful, we have good hormones, and we have good health when we have good nurture and security in our life.
Rujuta, when we come to beauty, okay, skin health is always a major concern as we are aging. So, you know, we also have societal pressure to look good, and you know, what do you suggest should be the dietary or the lifestyle habits, you know, which will promote healthy, glowing, firm skin from within? So, you know, would really like to hear from you on beauty, the ingredients that we eat, you know, the diet that we follow.
See, first of all, I think ये जो अपने को लगता है कि there is societal pressure on me to look beautiful, this तो doesn't exist only, you know. We think that the society wants me to look beautiful, but the society is so full of its own insecurities that every woman, when she looks at herself in the mirror, is checking how bad she is looking and not how good you are looking, you know. That is really a fact. And the day that changes, I think no matter how you look, you're going to start feeling beautiful. So the society doesn't care about how you must look. We care about looking like, I think, our 20-year-old self. I think we just have that insecurity. But I told you that agar jo सदा के लिए चुड़ैल ही जवान दिखती है, अदरवाइज 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 में you look like a 20, 40, 50, 60-year-old is a wonderful thing. And you know, Kareena Kapoor is one of my most famous clients. So when I worked with her, it was in 2007. We are in 2024. So if you look at her in Tushan, you know, where there was this whole size 0 thing and stuff like that, she looked gorgeous. If you look at her today, she still looks gorgeous. But she doesn't look like the way she was looking in 2007. But she still looks much fitter, leaner, younger, prettier than most women of her age who have put themselves through deprivation since 2000 or 2007 or whatever. She, on the other hand, has celebrated her food, enjoyed her food, had 2 children, you know, and continues to work, whether it is in films or in all other areas that she wants to work in. So I think that is something that we ought to remember, that we must pursue what we like doing. Very recently I also saw a picture of Wahida Rehman, you know, the yesteryear's actor, and she was somewhere, I think, doing some wildlife photography, and she still looks good, but she is not looking like the way she looked when they shot that song on her, Aaj Fir Jeene Ki Tamanna Hai. You know, you're not going to look like your past. It's a terrible thing if you look like something from your past. You should look सब कुछ प्रेजेंट. आई मीन गाड़ी हमको लेटेस्ट चाहिए, बैग हमको लेटेस्ट चाहिए, हमको इवन क्लिप्स लेटेस्ट चाहिए, तो
probably
बॉडी सड़ा हुआ
you
पुराना
know,
का कुछ
any food or any dietary condition,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
from within.
Yes, yes, yeah,
glow
I know,
come, yeah.
I will tell you that. Otherwise, I'm just bartering gyan. So, what are the foods that you can actually eat? So, food जिससे कि ग्लो आता है, जो कि आपके ग्रैंडमदर ने आपको बोला है, पर मैं वापस आपको बोलती हूँ. Number 1 food is ghee. Okay, and your grandmother has told you that it is good for your joints. And if you come from a Marwadi background, then your grandmother insisted that you overeat ghee in your postpartum period, and you thought that she doesn't know anything. But when she is 60, she's looking better than what you're looking in your 30s, you know. So ghee is the topmost food. Ghee on your roti, ghee on your rice, ghee on your idli. But again, in the proportions that it ought to come, not so much that आपको और कोई टेस्ट ही नहीं आ रहा है और सिर्फ घी का ही टेस्ट आ रहा है, एंड नॉट सो लिटिल कि घी डाला है कि नहीं डाला है किसी को नहीं मालूम. यू नो, आई थिंक इवन हलीम एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट यूजेस घी. So ghee is the first food. The second food which keeps your skin in a very good shape is also white butter or homemade butter. पर आजकल हम लोग full fat milk ही नहीं लेते हैं, तो हमारे घर में white butter बनता नहीं है. But go back to getting full fat milk, then you can even make butter at home. कृष्णा या श्री कृष्ण ने बहुत सारा मक्खन खाया है. I'm sure you all know that. You also know that people who talk sweetly, you know, and they could even be sweet, लोग बोलते हैं अरे बहुत मक्खन लगाती है ये, you know, but the fact is that अगर हम लोग adequate मक्खन खाएंगे तो digestion, bloating, all of that will be in a good place. So the waist looks smaller, otherwise our waist begins to kind of get much bigger in size. The third thing that we must all eat for good glow on the skin is अरीव और हलीम seeds, you know. तो अरीव के लड्डू जो जैगरी और घी के साथ बनते हैं, especially if you have pigmentation or spots or acne marks which are not going. Garden cress seeds. So Halim, the HALIM, Halim seeds, or Ariv, ALIV, Ariv seeds. And now I wrote this book, Indian Superfoods, I think sometime in 2012. तब से सब जगह मिलता है, आपको Amazon पे भी मिलेगा. And then another food which is good for you is of course the millets, whether it is ragi, whether it is rajgira. So those are also very good for your health. And eating a fresh seasonal fruit in your daily life. You know, recently I think American apple growers had a big party because India में सिर्फ लोग अभी American apple ही खाते हैं. हम लोग किन्नौर के, कश्मीर के apples खाते ही नहीं हैं. हम लोग जो local यहाँ पर सीताफल या custard apple आपको हैदराबाद के में मिलता है, we don't land up eating that. पेरू या गुआवा आपको यहाँ बहुत मिलता है, we don't land up eating that. आंवला आंवले के सीज़न में, मैंगो के सीज़न में, banana throughout the year. These are things which keep your skin in a very good place. And बाकी, I think you should just allow your skin to age, because aging and deterioration में फ़र्क है. You know, a lot of times when people say कि अच्छा you mother daughter you तो look like sisters, I'm like किसके लिए ये compliment है exactly, you know, like mother के लिए या daughter के लिए. But the thing is that it's fine to look our age. I told you, like, aging is a blessing. Otherwise we only like Instagram posts which say that I'm celebrating my wrinkles and my stretch marks are my warrior wounds and stuff like that. But in real life we are like, एक भी wrinkle नहीं आना चाहिए. कैसा नहीं आएगा? Of course आएगा, because real human beings age, eventually also die. You know, the only people who don't die are भूत. तो भूत बन के थोड़ी रहना है. You know, real human being बनकर अगर रहना है तो skin बदलेगा, बाल भी बदलेंगे, बॉडी भी बदलेगा, और इवेंचुअली सब कुछ नष्ट भी हो जाएगा ताकि दोबारा से शुरुआत करने का मौका मिले. सो फॉर आवर स्किन, घी, होममेड बटर, आरिव, ragi, and a seasonal fruit every single day. Oh, I must also tell you, nuts. You know, so a handful of nuts. That is also something that you should eat. So whether it is badam, walnut, whatever, just have your nuts also.
Okay. I think so we'll open the questions for the audience. We'll take 3-4 questions from the audience.
Thank you, Rujita, for the enlightening session. She has a flight to catch, so
Yes.
we're going to just take up a few quick questions from the audience, please.
Yeah.
Could we have the mic on the first table here, please?
I think you can just hold the mic here. Whoever wants to ask can come here, so that you just have 3-4 questions. And
Hello ma'am, good evening. So I wanted to ask, in right now there is so much adulteration in everything. Like even if you want milk, we'll get it adulterated, or any vegetables and everything is adulterated. So how do we get the most out of it?
All right. I think what we must know is that you know, to get good milk, if you just patronize a local farm, a local small dairy, you can get good milk. If you just patronize local small villagers who are like coming, and like local markets, then you will get good vegetables also. The problem is that these days we are only buying vegetables, fruits from like the big malls and shelves, and not really from the carts and stuff. And I hope that, you know, there is a change in there where our local markets are made more hygienic and beautiful. Otherwise हम लोग सब लोग you know, लंदन जाके हर कोई कॉवेंट गार्डन में बाज़ार का एक्सपीरियंस लेना चाहता है, पर वी आर नॉट थिंकिंग कि हैदराबाद में व्हाट कैन वी डू सो दैट इट्स अ बेटर एक्सपीरियंस फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस टू बाय. ऑल्सो मोस्ट वेजिटेबल्स दैट वी नीड टू कंज्यूम एट होम grow in as little as this much of a patch, you know, from that branding of yours up to where I am. So in Hyderabad, because there are big homes and there is land, I think, you know, even if you kind of learn a little bit of farming, and I also feel that that is something that schools need to do, make farming an essential subject in at the school level, so that we have access to good food, because otherwise we are only learning food from the point of view of carbohydrate, protein, fat. फिर उसमें यही होता है कि एक जनरेशन घी छोड़ता है, एक जनरेशन रोटी छोड़ता है, तीसरा जनरेशन सब्जी छोड़ता है. You know, अभी smoothies पे आ गए हैं हम लोग, फिर बाद में smoothies भी छोड़ देंगे. So we need to make farming a part of our life and just buy from. You've heard of single origin coffee? You know, where you know कि एक ही origin से आई है. We need to do the same thing, buy single origin fruits, vegetables and milk.
Hi Rujita, so nice to meet you in person. You inspired me to come back to India and work here.
Oh, nice.
Seriously. So, you advise on having ghee and butter, and I promote vegan or plant-based for the reason that one is animal cruelty, and the other one is the quality of the dairy that we are getting. So I have tough time. I tell people you don't have to quit eating ghee if you know the source, but I suggest mostly coconut oil. Okay, fat is important, obviously. So what do you say? Is it okay to have ghee and butter when you don't know the source and when animals are fed with antibiotics, etc.,
Well,
and the hormones?
okay. No, I hear you, and in a whole lot of places in the world, industrial farming, animal cruelty is a real thing. In India, however, we are still, whether when it comes to farms or whether it comes to shepherd communities, we are also a country with many shepherd communities. A lot of our saints have come from the shepherd communities. In fact, tomorrow, I think we start with Ramzan, and even Prophet Muhammad, I think, kept, worked as a shepherd until he went through his realization and stuff like that. So shepherd communities is a reality in India. And then we use animals not just for milk, for milking and milk products, but also as a source of income, also for making a lot of handicrafts and stuff. And to that extent, I think that needs to get supported, and that needs our patronage, in fact, patronage of people like you who have influence. And when one doesn't know the source, I guess then it is all, you are never really sure of what you're getting. But typically, by and large, in India, if you're buying from a small dairy farm, and if you're getting milk, which if you don't boil right now will get spoiled in the next few hours, more or less you're in a good place, you know. But yeah, I guess with everything, it's always better to know the source.
We have the next question, please.
Coconut is a good, dry coconut in all forms. Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I wanted to ask you, what are the best sources of protein in vegetarian food? And is protein really necessary, or is it just hyped for the human body?
You tell me. You tell me.
Sometimes I feel it is just hype.
You're right. You know, so one of the things that you have to know is go by your gut instinct. Even when people were not eating for protein, they were still getting protein. India has had just so many vegetarian communities. They continue to thrive till date. We even have non-vegetarian communities who give up on eating meat many times in the month, sometimes for a month or two together, you know, in an entire year. They continue to live and thrive. So this, if you look at it very scientifically, the International Protein Report was released, I think, last year. And they very clearly said that there is no such thing as a global protein gap. Not just vegetarians, but even communities who have been non-vegetarian or communities who have been vegan have not fallen short on protein. However, whenever there is poverty and therefore lack of access to nutritious food, people fall short on all nutrients, including protein. But when you have adequate access to food, you're eating roti, sabzi, dal, chawal, poha, upma, idli, dosa, mudde, nuts, fresh fruit, you know, a glass of milk, or, you know, you're eating a dry coconut, peanuts, you are not falling short on protein, even if you're doing extensive training. In fact, the WPL, the Women Premier League, is on right now. Smriti Mandhana is in big news because she's the batter who's like scoring big runs. She's a vegetarian, you know, so you don't fall short on protein because of dietary choices. We fall short on protein because of poverty. Okay, only if you don't have access to food, there is shortage of protein.
One last question let me ask. I'm not able to let go on my 1 teaspoon of white sugar in the tea. Is it okay?
Yeah, you know, हमारे यहाँ पे हमेशा कहते हैं कि आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर. हम लोग बोलते हैं आपके मुंह में घी शक्कर, थैंक यू. ऐसे लोगों को जिन्होंने हमको कोई खुशखबरी सुनाई है या जिनकी बात सुन के हम खुश हुए हैं, आज तक हम लोग उनको ये नहीं कह रहे कि तुम्हारे मुंह में शॉर्ट ऑफ एवो एंड स्क्वीज्ड लाइम, you know, because I think that would be like really terrible. So sugar, again, as long as you're using it at home, it is coming in the as a part of your chai or part of your coffee or a sharbat, or it's been turned into जैसे हम लोग मुरम्बा बनाते हैं, तो वहाँ तक वो वाला सारा sugar आपको चलेगा. लेकिन unfortunately I see people doing dark chocolate, I see people doing biscuits के चाय या कॉफ़ी में शुगर नहीं है लेकिन बिस्किट खा रहे हैं या बिस्कॉटी खा रहे हैं या कुकी खा रहे हैं अगर बहुत अमीर है तो. आई थिंक दैट्स द स्टफ दैट वी हैव टू स्टॉप. द कपकेक्स, द कुकीज़, द चिप्स, द कोलाज. Processing of the food is the problem. Sugar by itself is not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, RUJUTA. As we come to the end of this wonderful evening, could I kindly request everyone to please remain seated and invite Ms. Priya Gazdar, Senior Vice Chairperson, Flow Hyderabad, to deliver the vote of thanks, and Ms. Meenakshi Nahata to present the autograph sheet.
Namaste and good evening to our incredible speaker, RUJUTA DIWAKER, special guests, sponsors, past chairs, and our beautiful audience. What an eye-opener this session has been. If there's one thing we've learned today, it is that hitting the 40 mark isn't about slowing down. It's about flourishing. It's about finding new ways to glow, and sometimes just figuring out that our hormones have a wicked sense of humor. And also that embracing our age is like fine wine, getting better. And honestly, who doesn't love a good vintage? Thank you, RUJUTA, our guiding star for today, for making this complex journey of well-being, beauty, and hormones feel like a chat with a dear friend. Immense gratitude to Kaveri Seeds and Shiv Narayan Jewelers for shining bright through the year as our premium platinum sponsors. A big thank you to Freedom Oil, our premium diamond sponsor, for believing in the ethos of flow. A heartfelt thanks to Prayag Nutri, our initiative sponsor, for being the financial backbone of our impactful initiatives. Thanks to Argentum Arts, the silversmith, for coming on board as a sponsor. Each of you has added sparkle and strength to our causes and programs, and we hope to see you continuing your association with Flow Hyderabad for the years to come. Lots of respect to our past chairpersons for their mentorship and for always being a call away. Loads of appreciation for our behind-the-scenes sheroes, the planners, the organizers, and the volunteers. Your tireless efforts and teamwork have made event after event an epitome of perfection. And today, you also made sure we got to munch on nut laddus instead of chocolates. And to you, our fabulous audience, thank you for bringing your curiosity, your laughter, and making every event incredibly vibrant. Let's carry forward the learning and the lush journey of living our 40-plussers in full bloom. For it's never been about adding years to life, it's all about adding life to years. And now, do join us for a healthy high tea laid out to my left. Namaste.